My medication, it runs $20,000 a month without insurance. I make $800 a month. Oh, that will kill me. That would kill my friends. That would kill millions of people in this country if they lose their health care.
We're in California's District 22, a rural community in the state's Central Valley. This district voted for Trump for the first time in 2024, but now his policies threaten one of the benefits people here rely on the most. Do you know anyone personally who voted for President Trump but depends on benefits like Medicaid?
Oh yeah, I know a lot of people.
One resident who would be impacted by Medicaid cuts is 64-year-old Irma Arredondo, who voted for Trump in 2024. Irma has several chronic health issues, including type 1 diabetes. She's also a full-time caregiver for her daughter, who has cerebral palsy, and her sister, who has Turner syndrome.
The medicine that my daughter took for seizures, I won't be able to afford it. So we feel hopeless if those cuts come, What we want to do.
Irma was a farm worker for more than a decade. She believes that some of her and her children's health issues can be linked to the pesticides she was exposed to while working in the fields.
Look at me right now. Look at me, how many sicknesses that I have. We got all in the fields. Where else? I feel like these tapping nuts in the back. But why? Why when we put food on their tables? Trump promised a lot of things. I thought it will be more family values and those programs that really need here.
One of those promises was to protect Medicaid, which 67% of people in this district rely on. It's the largest percentage of any district in the entire country.
Can you guarantee that Medicare and Medicaid will not be touched?
Yeah, I mean, I have said it so many times, we're not going to touch it.
The yeas are 218, the nays are 214. The motion is adopted.
This bill represents the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. It will devastate vulnerable populations.
The largest tax break go to the wealthiest individuals. Are those your values?
No, that's not right.
Irma isn't the only one in District 22 who feels betrayed by the administration's plan to gut Medicaid.
The only people that are hurting are those poor people that really need the stuff. Elon Musk doesn't need it, Trump doesn't need it, and billionaires don't need it.
They're making out big time with this, but they're hurting people in the process.
If we could go back to November, who would you vote for now, seeing what you see?
For either one.
You just wouldn't have voted.
Not either.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Global Views with Josh, the channel where we break down the headlines and the politics and sometimes the pure irony of it all. If you're new here, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and join the conversation in the comments, because today's story is, well, one of those moments where reality comes knocking a little louder than expected. And folks, today we're talking about a situation that can only be described as a full-blown FAFO moment. Because across parts of rural America, some very vocal MAGA voters are suddenly shocked, I tell you, to learn that the programs they rely on are getting cut. Programs like SNAP benefits and Medicaid. Yes, those programs. The same programs that certain politicians have been talking about cutting, limiting, reforming, or trimming the fat from for years. But now that the policies are hitting home, suddenly we're hearing a lot of this isn't what we voted for. Oh, really? Now let's talk about that.
A post is going viral after a MAGA mom who's on SNAP benefits called out her family for not lending her money for groceries. In this Facebook post, this mom said that her husband is on the GI Bill and she has 2 kids. She continues by saying she's at her wit's end and she's overwhelmed and doesn't know what to do. She said that she asked her husband's mom, and the mom responded with, "You voted for this." Now, of course, I had to read through the comment section on this post, and the comments varied. In reading the comment section of the post, it looked like people were split. Some who have great relationships with their family in light of different political stances said they would help, while others said they've had complete falling outs with those family members and they would not help. What are your thoughts? If you were in this same situation, would you help this family member and use it as a teaching moment about the impact of politics on people's lives? Or would you say FAFO, too bad, so sad?
Did you know that on April 1st, people who live in Texas and receive SNAP benefits will no longer be able to buy candy and artificially sweetened drinks? So I'm looking at the news today and I hear the update, and if you all have seen this update, please let me know your thoughts in the comments. They're not going to be able to buy it. But the problem that I have with this direction is, if we're so concerned with what people are buying, why are we not concerned about the fact that in the month of September 25 alone, the government spent over $93 billion on frivolous things? $98,000 for a piano, $5.3 million on Apple products for the seafood lovers, and I'm a seafood lover myself. But the government spent $2.3 million Alaskan king crab. In the month of September, $6.9 million on lobster tail, and the fun doesn't stop there, because I guess if you gotta have the surf, you gotta have the turf. $15 million on ribeye steaks. Now, the discrepancies in who is able to purchase what has really got to stop. I mean, we have absolutely got to take a second look at what government oversight should actually include, given the fact that the man spent $140 million on donuts, people, and $124,000 on ice cream machines. Make it make sense, people. Have you heard this? If you have, let me know in comments what you think. And if you live in a state that's going to be impacted by these laws changing, let us know in the comments. All right? Whatever in the world you're doing, I hope it's something you love. Bye.
Well, in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, they have got 59,500 people who've lost their federal food assistance, like their SNAP benefits, where they can apply and get a debit card and go pay for their food. Now, why have they lost their federal food assistance? And this is just in the last 6 months this has happened. Over 59,000 people in just 6 months because they put work requirements on it. People say, oh no, I'm not going to work. If I got to work for it, I'll just do without, because there ain't no way I'm going to go to work. Now, I'm telling you, I think we'll put work requirements on everything. I mean, you either ought to be in a job training program, you ought to be helping with daycares for other people who are going to work. I mean, whenever you put work requirements of welfare to work, I'm telling you, it drastically reduces the burden on the taxpayer.
I don't want to hear shit about how people are spending their SNAP benefits now that we found out that Pete Hegseth has been spending millions of taxpayer dollars on steak, lobster, and fucking king crab legs. A huge chunk of the military budget went towards the elites having a feast on our dime. And you want to complain about a woman going to get a fucking Gatorade on SNAP? God forbid a single mother wants to go out and get her child some cupcakes for their fucking birthday. Meanwhile, Pete Hegseth is feeding the entire cabinet lobster dinners. He bought a grand fucking piano on the budget. Come on. I don't want to hear a peep out of y'all. Not a peep.
Across social media and local news reports, we're seeing interviews with voters who proudly supported Donald Trump and Republican candidates, but are now facing the consequences of budget cuts and policy changes that target federal safety net programs. People who depended on SNAP to help feed their families are finding their benefits reduced or removed. Others who relied on Medicaid for healthcare are suddenly realizing that eligibility rules are changing, funding is shrinking, and coverage may disappear. And now the reaction: tears, anger, shock, confusion. But here's the question a lot of people are asking online. How did this come as a surprise? Because during campaign rallies, policy speeches, and congressional debates, cuts to social programs were not exactly a secret. The rhetoric has long been about reducing government spending, cutting entitlements, and pushing for stricter requirements on programs like SNAP and Medicaid. That message was repeated over and over, but somehow many voters believed those cuts would only affect someone else, other people, not them. And that's where the sarcasm writes itself. Because for years we heard things like people on food stamps are just lazy, government assistance is socialism. Why should my tax dollars pay for someone else? But now that some of the very same voters are discovering that they are the ones relying on those programs, the tone has changed dramatically. Suddenly the conversation is, why would they take this away from us? And again, people online are responding with a simple phrase, FAFO. For those unfamiliar, that stands for fool around and find out. And the internet has been absolutely ruthless about pointing out the irony. Memes, commentary, reaction videos, people saying things like, you voted for the low crowd and now you're surprised it ain't your face. Harsh. Maybe. But the frustration many Americans feel comes from watching the same political cycle repeat itself over and over again. Here is the deeper issue though. This isn't just about political drunking or internet sarcasm. Real families are affected when programs like SNAP and Medicaid are cut. Children rely on those benefits for food security. Working families, of course, depend on Medicaid for healthcare, and rural hospitals already struggling often rely heavily on Medicaid funding to stay open. So when those programs shrink, entire communities feel the impact. Ironically, many of those communities are the same regions that overwhelmingly supported the politicians pushing these policies, which raises a bigger question about political messaging versus political reality and policy reality, right? Because campaign slogans and rally speeches can sound very different from the fine print of legislation. And that's something voters everywhere, left, right, and center, should probably think about. Because policies don't just affect the other side, they affect everyone: your neighbor, your town, your hospital, your grocery bills, your healthcare. Now, to be fair, not every voter follows every policy debate in Washington. Most people are busy working, raising families, and trying to get through the week. But elections have consequences. Policies have consequences. And sometimes those consequences arrive in the mailbox as a benefit termination later. So where does this story even go from here? These voters, will they rethink their political choices? Will there be pressure on lawmakers to restore funding? Or will the same cycle repeat in the next election? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain: the conversation about who government programs actually help is getting a lot of more real in communities. They're getting a lot more real in communities that once thought those programs were only for someone else. And with that said, I want to hear from you. Do you think voters truly understood the policies they were supporting? Or were they misled by political messaging? And should politicians be held more accountable when campaign promises clash with real-world outcomes? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Let's talk about it. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like the video, subscribe to Global Views with Josh, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because sometimes the biggest political lessons come from the moment when expectations meet reality, and in this case, reality is hard. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video. As always, credit belongs to original creators. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel.